People ask me all the time, how do I avoid bad debt? We made this video to give you a few ideas of what's really important when that new customer or client comes to see you. I hope this video helps. There's lots of ways. The most important thing, if you have a great pest control company, you have a lot of management contracts with apartment complexes, it is so important that you do your due diligence up front. We have a program for our collection cases that it pulls up any judgments against them, any federal tax liens, state tax liens, whether they own a boat, whether they own aircraft, their home, their car title. We have so much information. So that's so important to get that information up front, because if you're dealing with somebody that's had a poor past, the history's generally going to repeat itself. Or you're going to want to go in with more up front and not let them go more than 30 days. Not continue to give away the services. So that's a really important. I always tell people, you come to us, due diligence is so important. The other is having a good credit application. Think about this. You have a credit application. On your credit application, it has a provision that we personally guarantee the company's debt if the company cannot pay it. All right, they're struggling. They're looking at, they're barely paying their debts. They've got 5 vendors they owe. 4 vendors have just a regular credit application against the company. Well, this 5th one is with your company, and it's got a guarantee out there. Who are they going to pay first? They're paying you first. The other 4, they're going to let them go. So you always want to be first in line. So one of the provisions I put in there with a credit application is help small businesses. Put it in there. Now, you can't get all your customers to sign it. You don't want to offend them, but you have to decide if it's somebody you're not sure you want to do business with or somebody new. And also, if they're not willing to sign it, then they're not willing to stand behind their backing. So I'd be very careful with that. The other part is your clauses in your contract itself. We have venue clauses in there. We have waiver of jury trial sometimes. I love a jury, of course, if I'm representing, depending on who I'm representing, but it keeps the fees down if you do get into a dispute. So I put a mediation clause. Jerry, you're a wonderful mediator, but it's so important. Over 90%, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, 90% or more of the cases settle at mediation generally? So if you have a 90%, you can get rid of the case without trial. What makes attorney's fees so expensive is the trial, preparing for trial, because you have to put on a big show. You go to a mediator, the mediator's doing the opposite. The mediator's trying to pull you together. When you go to trial, it's the opposite. One party is trying to hammer everything they got on the other party. It is a war. So I put a mediation that you have to go to mediation. So those are the kind of clauses that really help you. And the other one that's really important, I love this one, is almost every contract we do that we tailor make, we put a liquidation clause in there. Because how do you determine the profits? How do you determine the damages? So for you, we would put, if we're liable in any manner whatsoever this contract, we agree that you've agreed that it's hard to determine the amount that was owed. So what we're going to provide for you is 1 month's of service. And we've agreed that's a fair rate. So you know if you go into it and an attorney looks at it on the other side, they can't go get a year. They can't go get 100,000. They're limited to 1 month service, 5,000. The attorney's not going to take the case. And they're going to say, you signed it, you're stuck. So that's another thing we can do, is we keep people out of litigation. And how do we do that? We put clauses in their contracts that help them so that if there is a dispute between the parties, that clause hopefully is in that contract because we thought about it before it happened. And that way we can point to that contract and say it's already been handled. We also put clauses called liquidation damages in their contracts. So if they ever do something wrong, their damages have already been reduced to a certain amount under that contract because we had that other party agree firsthand, if there is a problem, this is the amount that they recover. It is so important. I can't tell you how important it is when you're in business to have a good standard contract that you can use that has a lot of bells and whistles for you. That can prevent you from getting into a mess because your contract has provisions in there that protect you. And having those provisions, if they take it to another attorney, they either will not be interested in the case or it will settle for such a small amount because of the precautions you did early on in the case.